All right, everybody. This is the Thick Boy Hours podcast with Dodgy Yeti, Chris Jones, aka C Unit, Q, aka Short Round. And we got a few topics for you today from everybody. So, it's going to be a good one. We'll throw out a small one to start off. Chris, we did our cat and dog Pokemon tier list. You have disagreements with the list. Let's hear
Just,
let's hear what
just
you got.
slightly. Well, I'm slightly obviously older than you guys, so I come from a different generation. What generation did you guys like your first Pokemon game? Do you remember?
I
Uh,
played Yellow because my uncle had it, but the first one that I got that was like mine, new from the store, was Ruby, and then I got Emerald shortly after.
Yeah. What about you,
um,
Skag?
the first one that I ever did play was, I wanna say, Silver, and I played Silver. I don't think I beat it all the way through before like my birthday came around, and I got a Nintendo, like, Game Boy SP, and my parents got me Omega Ruby. Well, not Omega Ruby, but they got me Ruby for it, and I switched over and started playing Gen 3 before I beat
Okay.
Gen 2. So,
So slightly, you guys, I'll say, kind of came in the Pokemon generation around Gen 3. Well, I grew up from the originals. Um, Even though I was retarded and couldn't figure out for the longest time why Pikachu couldn't beat Brock. One day we found out that electricity doesn't work on rock, but we'll move past that. That was lots of years ago when I was stupid. But I grew up in a generation where the importance, I don't know if I'm going to say this the way I'm trying to get it to come across. The the face Pokemon were super important to their specific games, whereas like I want to say it kind of, to me per se, there's games past third generation. I think third generation did a really good job at the legendaries kind of being a focal point for the game. Obviously, Groudon Ruby, Kyogre Sapphire, and then Emerald, Rayquaza is trying to stop the fighting between Kyogre and Groudon or whatever. But a big important part, I think, of second generation involved the legendary dogs. You think about Pokemon movies. Obviously Mewtwo was a big movie, and then you get to the movie, legendary dogs all played a big factor. Everybody wanted the legendary dogs, and I guess I should start with the lower ranked one first. So number 3, me and Quentin before the show were talking about it's easy for people to relate to cats and dogs specifically. They're the common household pet. The majority of the population, you either love a cat or dog or both. And
mm-hmm.
um, can't think of who is it. Oh, so the one of the my third Pokemon I have ranked here for number 3, the pre-evolution is Houndour. Just looks to me, when I was growing up, if I was going to get a dog, I always talked about getting a dog, having it be mean, attack people. Anybody that looked at me stupid, like this dog was going to attack him. So I think of that. I think of Doberman Pinscher. The closest dog I think of Doberman Pinscher is Houndoom, which is who I have ranked at number 3. The fire, the dog, he was really cool in second generation. Absolutely loved him. Think of second generation. And then number 2 is the first ever, to me, non-legendary legendary Pokemon. Can you guess who it is? Arcanine,
He
obviously.
is the first non-legendary legendary. He is actually called the legendary Pokemon.
And I just had an obsession early on, and like it even goes on today about usually if there's a fire Pokemon, chances are I'm probably picking that one to start with. Um, I think everybody leaned towards Charizard in the original Um, everybody liked Blaziken and third generation, so people were picking Torchic. No one really liked Trico. Second generation is a little more iffy. I mean, Cyndaquil kind of looks dumb, but who doesn't want their Pokemon to evolve at level 14?
Typhlosion is sick.
I love Typhlosion, but there's a lot of people that prefer Totodile
That's
and
true.
Chikorita. I had never, to this day, and I still have never picked Chikorita as a starter Pokemon. I have no idea why. But the number 2 is Arcanine. He's just extremely cool, and I think if I were to go all the way down to top 10, I'd probably have Growlithe in there too. The aesthetic of the go ahead, sorry.
I was muted for it, but I want to put out my love for Typhlosion as well. Typhlosion's the shit.
Typhlosion's awesome, even though we had the weird leak or whatever with I don't know exactly what it was, but like something leaked beginning of this year or last.
I think it was a mistranslation.
Yeah,
it was
very weird.
It was a fan fiction from one of the people. It was all it was. It was just one of those somebody being weird and really likes animals and humans.
But yeah, Arcanine's number 2 for sure. He's just really powerful, easy to evolve. Firestone, let's get it done. And number 1, if you've read any of my Pokemon articles, which many people have, I ranked recently the Pokemon generations, and the number 1 generation, I will stand on this hill forever, is Generation 2. And I think Crystal is the best game of all time, Pokemon-wise, because the legendary dogs, I don't know a grouping of legendary Pokemon that had as big of an impact as these specifically. It was the first time, like, obviously the legendaries in the second generation was Ho-Oh or Lugia. That's what everybody wanted, but this was the first time they introduced sub-legendary Pokemon that were also a focal point of the story, specifically Suicune and Crystal, because the Burn Tower and all that stuff. If you go deep into the lore, you can find out everything about them. And everybody wanted it. You know, Pokemon cards back then. I collected Pokemon cards back then. Everybody, I think Entei back then was probably more popular just because fire and dog. But they just had a profound impact on the game because even in Gold and Silver, which wasn't the focal point for the dogs, you still wanted the dogs. Everybody's like, well, I had this badass encounter on the way to Goldenrod City. You know, I was getting ready to, pass through the area to get Sudowoodo and the grass. Man, I missed that Raikou. Man, the fastball just didn't get it for me. You know, you have a legendary dog story about escaping, and I don't know because I haven't played super in depth all of the games. I missed. I don't think I played Black and White, but I don't know if there's another grouping of legendary Pokemon like this besides in like there's like Tornadus, Landorus, and I think Terrakion might be the second time we had like 3 sub legendary type. No, I'm thinking of a different grouping of dogs. Okay, so they did do it more than once. They did the air Pokemon on the clouds, and they did like Terrakion, the unicorn one. I can't think.
Yeah, the Swords of Justice, and then they also had the Gens. But you're missing one that they actually had. They are another like trio of Pokemon. They're not animals, but they had more of an impact.
I forgot about the Reggies. Okay, so I guess I lied to myself. As I think more about, there's more.
Well, that's not even what I'm talking about. But it's another trio that has more of an impact on their game than what the dog trio is, and that's Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. I don't think they're better, but they have more of an impact on their game than.
I don't know that story particularly. Which
so Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf all are guardians of their specific lake in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, and they the was it Galactic? Galactic and Team Galactic is trying
I
to
did
like,
play a little bit of Pearl, but I don't remember those Pokemon very well.
yeah, they're little tiny things that like one's got a yellow head, blue head, and then a pink head.
Okay.
But they're guardians of their lake. Then Team Galactic is trying to like drain the lake in order to get like a certain item for whatever your like box legendary is or something, and uh, you and that's it for the majority of it. I mean, they don't have a giant impact, but I think they have one of the bigger impacts that the like a trio legendary has in a main game.
I think since Suicune, Raikou, and Entei have made such a splash in their game, I think they've always tried to have there at least be some kind of sub story like that in all the games since. In, like you said, you had Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf and Diamond and Pearl. Past that, you had Zygarde, which he was not really a trio, but he has all his different forms and things.
He's like the Giratina of
Yeah.
that one.
The Giratina that didn't get a game.
Yeah, that's so lame. They did my boy so dirty.
I also
But
like when the real quick. I also like when the legendaries are actually throughout the story. Like there's some you catch like post game or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you can get. I don't remember the Mesmerite ones or whatever from Pearl. I did play Pearl, but I don't remember them that well. Like the dogs, you can actually get them before the end of the game. I like
Yeah.
I like that too.
Yeah.
Reggie's I think are all post game, unless I'm wrong.
No, I think they're all post game.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I never actually caught any of the Reggies.
I've never caught the Reggies in third generation either. I've got them in trades and stuff through later games, but I've never actually caught the Reggies either.
I pulled the old, I have to look this up and figure out how to get Regigigas because somebody showed me Regigigas and I was like, that's redonkulous. Doing all the.
One of my
Was it
favorite Pokemon
unknowns?
teams involves Regigigas and coughing. No, it's low and wheezing. He has
Oh,
neutralizing
with
gas,
this
which takes away
gas.
the slow start, and it's just that team. That team is one of the ones that got me to start writing battle articles.
Does Slaking also have slow start? Is that
No, he's got what's called Truant, and
Yeah.
truant?
and it just means that every other move he will not do. Where Regigigas just is complete and utter garbage for like
5 turns or something like that.
4 or 5 turns.
Yeah. But I think that they have done a lot of people don't really like Monkey Dory, Okidogi, and Pheasantipity. They're the
I've never heard of those.
they're the new trio of the newest game, Scarlet and Violet. And they are post game. They're in the
I've
second.
never heard of them.
Yeah, they're the second DLC, and they are kind of lame. They're
That
like,
might be why, because I don't think I got the second DLC.
okay, yeah. So you get it might be the first DLC,
Yeah, they're in the
whichever.
first. They're in the first
Yeah,
DLC.
but you get Ogerpon, which is the little guy with the mask. You've probably seen him. You may not have caught him, but
I'm looking them up right now.
and they just have this kind of cool sub story with Ogerpon where
Okay, yeah.
Ogerpon is like this horrible spoilers. I guess I better say a spoiler alert. Ogerpon is this nasty creature that attacked everybody, and Pheasantipity, Monkey Dory, and Okidogi saved the town, and they're like the heroes of Kitakame, which is the new area that you go to. And as you play the game, one of the characters that you meet really likes Ogerpon, even though everybody's scared of Ogerpon. And you come to find out that Ogerpon was actually the good guy, and they were trying to steal Ogerpon's masks.
That's the
And
only one I actually know that I've seen
yeah,
because I don't know if it's him. Did you say there was 4 or was there 3?
there's 3.
Okay.
Monkey
And
Dory is probably the easiest one to find.
I remember one of them because I remember going through Battle Team articles. I tried to write about the unique ones because obviously the mainstream one you see at BCG Worlds and all that stuff, you see all that stuff. And I just remember seeing one time about the mask or whatever.
Yep.
Being an item that's included or whatever.
So, with you loving the legendary dogs, which of their ancient forms do you like the best?
Like I remember their ancient forms. Talking about Gen 2?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
in
all got
this newest
ancient
game,
forms.
they all got a paradox form that was ancient. You have Walking
I
Wake.
didn't get them in Scarlet.
You didn't get them?
No.
Oh yeah, in Scarlet you can't get them. You have to trade them because they're the old versions.
No, Scarlet, you get them.
Or Scarlet, you get them. Violet, you don't get them. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna look them up.
They're badass.
I think they're
Is
all
that the
pretty
one
good.
where they kind of? Is that the one where Suicune kind of looks like the legendary Pokemon from Scarlet? Like he's standing up on.
Two
Yes.
That looks like
legs.
a dinosaur.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Okay.
Walking Wake, Gouging Fire, and I don't ever remember what
Roaring Thunder.
Raikou is. Roaring Thunder.
Yeah.
Looking real quick. Let's see.
Yeah,
There's
Suicune looks
Suicune.
like a he looks like some raptor type, and then Entei's kind of like a.
He kind of looks like Terrakion
He's like a
in a way.
Triceratops esque thing.
Yeah.
I actually don't like Suicune's ancient form.
Suicune's is my least favorite.
Yeah.
Um,
He's too different.
He just kind of looks ugly to me. He looks derpy as shit.
Yeah. But man, was he good when it came out.
Oh yeah.
There
in a way,
for a minute.
he looks like the legendary Pokemon. Like when they're on their biped, they're on 2 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
kind of-
Koraidon and Miraidon, yeah.
He kind of reminds me of them. I'm going to say I like Raikou's form better.
Yes.
I'm an Entei Gouging Fire fan.
It's close.
And hopefully this
It's
doesn't
close,
change
though.
your opinion, but the clouds, they like move around. It's kind of like a big mustache. And
I
then
just
you
like
had
the overall aesthetic of Raikou for sure, but Entei's close.
yeah. Who else? What? I don't know. I think they've done a pretty good job. I think that the only Pokemon game up till now that I haven't really had a whole lot of fun with was Black and White.
Same.
I've never played them.
But Black and White 2 was pretty good. So
Never did get to play Black and White 2. But I also didn't like Black and White, so I wasn't going to play Black.
fair. Very fair.
But Suicune, Arcanine, Houndoom. That's my top 3 dogs. Cats, I'm going to be honest. If I had to choose a pet, I'm going to choose a dog. And not many cats top a lot of the dogs in the Pokemon franchise for me at all. I mean, I think if I'm just going to pick like my top favorite cat, it's the little black one that has a the fuck that ability. Little black one that when you attack it first, it's like not that Pokemon. You know what I'm talking about?
That's
what it's
Zora.
Zoroark.
Yeah.
Zoroark, yeah.
That would be That would be my favorite cat if I had to pick one.
Yep,
Fair enough.
that's a good one.
So what do you think of the ones that we put up in our S tiers? So Houndoom was our honorary one. So we already know how you feel about that one.
We did that for you, dude.
I was trying to get Absol in there so bad. I wanted Absol in there.
Absol's another good one, top 10.
Hey, at least you put him top 10. I had a bunch of haters. But
I think you guys did very well ranking them. Like I don't disagree a whole lot. There's just it's like
So-
the top 100 video games of all time. Like there's a lot of people that agree that those games belong there. It's just like which placement of each individual game. I think you guys ranked them pretty well, to be honest.
So Hisui and Arcanine. What's your thoughts on Hisui and Arcanine? Because that's our number one.
Probably not going to spell it right. I need to see what it looks like again. What's it called again? What's the form?
Hisui and Arcanine.
I'm terrible at spelling.
Hisuaian.
Okay, I got it.
I love. He's
I like
great at
him,
grading.
but I like the way he looks, but I think it's my older generation. I think this converts to like my other hobbies as well, especially Magic cards. I'm more for like originals. Like, for example, like if they were to print Mana Crypt in standard, I'm sure it would have a different art. I would prefer the old one, but I would still place that specific Arcanine pretty high though, because just Arcanine overall is a house.
So Galio.
I didn't really like the Sun and Moon Pokemon that much. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh. Espeon.
Out of all the Eevee forms, Espeon's probably my second favorite, so I could see that.
And Hisui and Zoroark.
No, Zoroark, definitely. Put him up there. I don't even need to look at the art.
Hey, I will say, I think
I'm
Hisui
surprised you
and
didn't say Umbreon. Umbreon tends to be a popular one.
The only person who chose an evolution was Christian.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Just kidding. Let me quit.
But yeah, no, he
Actually, this is a situation. I'm looking at the Zoroark right now. I actually like the way the new one looks versus the old one.
yeah. I am in the same vein. Plus, it
Mainly
has
because the way
such
its hair looks. I don't know what it is, but from the image that I seen, the way its hair looks, I think was pretty cool.
it has it has such a cool typing as well. So fucking chef's kiss. Yeah. All right. Well, Q, what do you got for us? What do you want to speak on?
I only be talking about Monster Hunter on here because I am 100%
Lies.
totally obsessed with Monster Hunter. And as of recording this, there's 2 days until the title update 2, the free title update, where we get 2 new monsters. We get, I'm going to butcher the names because I don't know them. Lagicris
Legiacris.
and Legiacris and Cerajos.
I've never heard that name said, so I don't even know.
He looks brand new. He bullies Uthduna. He's pretty cool. I'm about to send you guys the armor set that you get from him. If this isn't one of the coolest, just off the rip, no changing colors, no doing anything to it, armor sets that you've seen, then I don't know what is.
Okay, so they've already released what his armor set looks like.
Yes, yeah. Here, I'll send you guys both the update straight from Capcom. They show a little picture of them. You can't see them very good. I tried to find some bigger pictures to send you guys, but the new title update is coming out in a couple days, and they're bringing back the underwater fighting mechanic, which I think is pretty cool. I never experienced it in the older games, but it seems like it's going to be gimmicky, but it's going to be fun. I think. Um, and then the new monster, I'm all down for. I don't know about you guys, but I'm down for a monster that has a gigantic horn on the front
Ooh.
of its head. And this thing,
That armor is sick.
right?
Have you seen? You guys have watched Overlord, right?
I think I have.
The anime.
Little bit.
Well, that I like that armor, and it kind of reminds me of like,
Yes.
obviously it's gold, but like the gold version of like when he goes out, because he tries to maintain some secret about who he is, whatever, because he actually fights as a good guy at times as the adventurer Momon. And if you converted Momon's armor to gold, which I really liked, it would kind of be similar. So I definitely like that armor, even though I'm not a Monster Hunter guy yet. I
Yeah.
like the way the armor looks.
Yep. So I'm down for the new armors. I've almost got all of the armor completed in the game now. They're also doing a higher rank of one of the guardians of the areas, the Uthduna, and you get some new armor from him as well. The Palico armor is pretty much what I'm looking for in that. He gets this goofy little derpy face. But yeah, just more Monster Hunter. Oh, they're actually adding quite a bit of stuff. So now you can layer weapons. So you could
That's what I'm
before, like,
excited about.
yeah, you could pick an armor set so that you're set, and then they would allow you to layer other armor over it so you could look whatever way you want to look. And weapons were just kind of thrown to the wayside because, you're going to use your weapon. Who cares what your weapon looks like? Well, we finally asked and asked and asked enough that they're letting us layer weapons now. So, in the same way that you can layer your armor, you'll be able to use the good weapon, whatever that may be, and have it look however you would like it to look. So lots of everybody that I'm seeing on all the Monster Hunter stuff I'm on is pretty excited for the update. I'm excited for the update. I'm excited to get Chris on playing Monster Hunter, get his hunter rank up high enough so that he can enjoy these updates with us.
Yes, you need to play with us. Need to.
I don't have Monster Hunter, so
Eventually.
But you have a PlayStation 5, right?
I do have a PlayStation 5, an Xbox, original Switch. I don't know. I'm sure I would like aspects of it. I'm not as big. Last podcast, Skaggs talked about he's really trying to find that looting game or whatever. I'm not necessarily as big into those these days.
Which I've started
Oh,
playing some WoW.
I just have a unique just gaming. Like if I just started playing a game called Gian the Ark, which is an old game that was remastered or upgrade for the PS5. It's a turn-based game. I talk about turn-based too much, but I'm just have unique taste, so I would not mind trying Monster Hunter, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to like it.
Yeah.
I think the stuff
There's
looks cool. Like I like fighting big monsters. Like, do you guys remember? Fuck's that game called? Is it called Evolve? Where there's like a big monster, and there's like four people, and like each person had like an individual job to accomplish defeating that particular monster. Like I like that game. but
Yeah.
it wasn't nearly as popular as what Monster Hunter is. So
This more so feels like. Do you ever play Shadow of the Colossus or any of those kind of games
I'm
like
sure I
that?
did, but I don't remember it. And that happens a lot where I played an old game and I just know that I played it, but I have no knowledge of it at all.
Yeah, it's definitely it's very repetitive when you play Monster Hunter. Like once you get through the story, now all I'm doing is trying to get armor and trying to get all my trophies and my crowns and stuff. And so it's super repetitive after the game, but I feel like this one had a pretty good story. I don't know how much of it you sat through, Skags, when playing the story, but it has a pretty cool story and a pretty, enough to keep you there and interested in fighting the next big monster. Because when it comes down to it, it's called Monster Hunter because you pretty much are only running through here and hunting big monsters.
Yeah,
How is
but
it for group play? Because um, Black Desert is a game that I used to play Neverwinter all the time.
Yeah.
So I had this, and they've never like really changed everything. All the events were always the same events most of the time, offer the same rewards, same prizes. So a lot of my Neverwinter friends kind of switched to playing Black Desert, which doesn't really have a good. It's more of like a single player MMO, which makes no sense to me. But like, there's not really a lot of group play with Black Desert. So how's a group play for Monster Hunter?
Um, it
kind
kind
of
of sounds like it seems similar to what you're talking about. So the game is designed where you can play the entire game without ever getting online, and you're not going to get the most bang for your buck out of the game not playing online, but you could beat the whole game and play everything by yourself. As far as ease, Monster Hunter has notoriously been pretty bad about how easy it is to connect with your friends. It's kind of they have a whole friend system set up. They have systems where you guys can get in groups and you can get in like clans with each other, and all the perfect makings for a really easy to use multiplayer experience. And then they make it so clunky and so difficult to connect with each other. So they do
Okay.
a silly thing where you can just connect. So when Skags and I play, we can connect with each other, and we will be able to see when each other go on missions and everything, but we may not be able to physically see each other's characters. We're just like existing in the same server. Or, and I say or kind of slightly, you have to be in that group first, and then you can do an environment link. So it's a two-step thing for you to even be able to see each other. But I will say that the environment link allows you this one is very open world. So you start in your hub areas where there's the marketplace and where you can craft your armor and everything. And then in the old games you would leave that space and like choose where you wanted to go, what biome you wanted to go and hunt, and you would hunt it. And in this one it's like you are in the desert biome at the hub, and you can just leave the hub area and go out into the desert and have your fun. So the environment link allows you to both be actually in the same game and explore the desert yourself or do whatever you want. So they're trying hard to make the multiplayer feel better. And I think you do get like more rewards. It makes the monsters harder when the more people you have in a party. So in turn you get more rewards for beating the monster. Um it's
it's just a pain in the ass because their connectivity is kind like keeping you in a group kind of sucks.
yeah. And I think a lot of that is on my side. My computer is like it's absolutely maxed out whenever I'm
But
playing Monster
that
Hunter.
also speaks to their game as well for kind of. I mean, it might just kind of suck because like that is the game, one of the like games that'll always go down that kind of forced everybody to upgrade.
Yeah.
But even still, I mean, the requirements for the game are still kind of fucking nutty.
Yeah.
Is there like one thing that gets me to fall off a lot, and it's not a particular, it's not like Monster Hunter you play by yourself, whatever. It's not because of that specifically. Is there like daily requirements? Because that is a thing where I can't get on every day to do stuff, and like Elder Scrolls, like I pay a subscription fee for Elder Scrolls Online, and it's currently the MMO I'm currently always going to play at some point. Like I've taken a couple month break because I have other friends that I play with, and I specifically play PvP. That's why I have ESO downloaded specifically for serial PvP. Talked about this 1,000 times. Granted, they did have a big update. I might go see what it's about, but PvP. So I play specifically with people, and every day there's a daily login. So I pay $15 a month to log in for 30, 31 days, 28, 27, whatever, if it's February, to get these free rewards. And like I did this for like 3 years. I paid for the subscription fee while I wasn't playing and built up all this stuff. So I don't even log in every day to get that free stuff. So as long as there's not like daily requirements, I know like some stuff like Destiny or WoW, sometimes you'd want to log in every day to do
Yeah.
stuff. But like
They have weekly like quest things that you can do, and it's every Tuesday night or maybe Wednesday night, whichever.
Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday night the weekly quests reset, and it's pretty much something that you could feasibly do in a week. So it's like
okay,
fight 5 construct monsters, and they give you Tuesday to Tuesday to get those things done for extra rewards. Now I think when they do events, there are like daily quests that you can do when there's a big event going on, which Monday will start a big event, but no, they don't really hold you to pretty much the draw of getting on there every day is if there's an event or if there's certain armor that you want that is only going to be around for a limited time, things like that.
Yeah, it's not really
I
like,
stopped
hey,
playing all cell phone games because I got sorry to interrupt. I stopped playing all cell phone games because besides Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel and Arena or whatever, I occasionally do that stuff. But like, I'm talking about like the town builders or whatever. Like,
Yep.
and I had a routine. I go to work, I get done, log into AFK Arena, and the only reason I played that is because they had an Overlord crossover with Einzelgone and Albedo. So it got me to play that, and then I got Joker from Persona and Enzio from Assassin's Creed. So like it pulled me in not because of the game itself, but because of all the collaborations. Every day you log in, you do these rewards. Same thing, Raid Shadow Legends and all this other stuff. It got so bad. I had like 5 of these games, and like I had to forcibly make myself quit because I would spend like 2.5 hours, 3 hours every night logging in when I'm sitting at the time clock or waking or before I go to bed, hop on the game, do all this stuff. So trying to avoid like a daily set requirement of having to do stuff every day to keep up with everybody. But like you said, there's no daily requirement. Special events is obviously that's a different story altogether. It's not like those special events aren't going to happen. Be like everyday situation type
Yeah,
thing. Those
yeah,
are like once in a while.
yeah.
yeah, and they're usually up for like a week or two, so you can take your time on it. Um,
And I feel like they spread them out enough to where it you can play the event real hard for a week, and then they'll give you a couple weeks, and they'll maybe sprinkle like, oh, here's a little mini event, here's a little something, stuff that if you miss it, it's not the end of the world kind of thing. And they pace everything very well, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
yeah, and like I just ran out of stuff that I was wanting to do. I was going through getting what I wanted to get done, and I got it done for the most part. Besides like some self like milestones that I put on that I did want to do, but I I don't know. I just kind of fell off on the game for a little bit. But I come back every once in a while for some special stuff and try and get that done. Right now, I've been playing a lot of WoW. Not a
Which
lot, but
don't get me wrong, like WoW, when I used to stream on Twitch all the time, uh, I would have spurts where I'd play WoW. Um, there's a lot of things I liked. It's just not for me. Like there has for an MMO to pull me in again, and I've not been pulled into an MMO since 2020, and that was the only reason that MMO, which I'm talking about, Fantasy Star Online 2. The only reason that was able to pull me in is because that was off the goodwill of what Fantasy Star Universe was on 360. So it was the goodwill of a past game. And like there's stuff I like about, or I say this all the time, like if I could take the lore from Neverwinter, which is Dungeons and Dragons, Forgotten Realms, that type of stuff. You guys know all about Dungeons and Dragons. If I could take Neverwinter's lore, if I could take like the monsters and beasts of multiple games, Neverwinter, I've seen some of the monsters and beasts from Monster Hunter, the shop and buying system of Fantasy Star, which is like there's a computer system, and what you could do is like, so say Skaggs had something in his shop he was selling, I would go to Skaggs' shop in Fantasy Star Universe and it would teleport me to his room. And room on the game is like you could decorate it however you want to. So like there's lots of fucking cool rooms. People do lots of different designs, and I actually have an article where I took 4 pictures in different locations. I think 3 of them were rooms that we had made on Fantasy Star Online 2. And then like that shop system and like the raid system of WoW, but the PvP system of like Elder Scrolls. Like I've explained it before. Multiple factions, capture outposts, big keeps, whatever, point-based system, stuff like that. So like I like bits and pieces of many different games. The monsters of Monster Hunter, the raid system of WoW. I also like the fact WoW has a mobile app. I don't know if it's still active, but when I played WoW, the mobile app, you could use it to do auction house stuff on your phone, which was
Oh,
extremely fucking useful.
that's
I think it was
handy.
called I think it was called WoW Armory. I could be wrong, but I did all my auction stuff from my phone. So like, there's just multiple systems, and like all those games, Monster Hunter, WoW, Elder Scrolls, Fantasy Star, they're all good games too. It's hard to grab me because when Fantasy Star Online 2 came out during pandemic times in the West, it had been out for a while. Like I even downloaded VPN stuff so I could play it, and then the it was a big complicated process. Then it came to US, the Western stuff, because it was only like I think you could only play it in like Asia or like Southeast Asia. Like it wasn't legally allowed to be out. It was something weird. But
what's the
then it
game
came to
called again?
everybody. Which one?
The one you're talking about.
Oh, right now I'm specifically Fantasy Star Online 2. And then Xbox introduced Fantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis, which I'm like, oh, cool, a new Fantasy Star game. We all get access to it. The big thing was going between Fantasy Star Online 2 and New Genesis. And well, the big thing was none of like your money transferred over. None of that transferred over. All the equipment and stuff you built up in didn't transfer over. Um, there was like appearance stuff could transfer over and stuff like this, but like at the beginning there was no like room access. I think is what it was. Like you couldn't decorate your room, or it was. I I didn't like what they did.
Yeah.
It brought an open world system, whereas the old games were a hub based systems. Like me, you, Skags, like meet up and like they had like 8 ships. We'd pick the same ships, so we'd be on the same server, and like we could go to like I don't know what the hub area is called, but it had a specific location. We meet up there. We could go into a teleporter, do these missions together. They had a casino. We can go hang out at the casino together. They had like some small locations, whatever. But like even though it was a small area, not open world, like it was a good game. And like I remember, I wrote an article about being a dad in gaming, and one of the things I remember from Fantasy Star Universe is like the amount of time. I always had a recliner. I had this recliner. My daughter would sit next to me when she was a baby, and I'd spend hours on this game. And like, I off the back of my confidence in Universe, I gave it to Online 2, and it was all right. Could have been way better, but I enjoyed it. And then New Genesis just kind of killed it for me. And I'll be honest, none of my friends that I played Phantasy Star Online 2 play New Genesis anymore that I know of. Like, it's kind of dead to all of us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I'm looking at it right now on Steam, and it actually looks pretty cool. Yeah, like you get to build your own fucking building, and
I don't know
own the
how.
market. I spent so much time in Universe, specifically talking about the 360. I spent so much time in this game. Like, I spent my first tax check. I remember, I spent $182.83 on fake money for Phantasy Star Universe, and I bought I think it was Par Walnut at the time, and it was an item you needed for synthesis to make weapons, upgrade weapons. Like, you needed this item. I bought every single fucking one of them, and set my own price. It's like I never needed money in this game, and then I couldn't do that for Online 2, as you know, they monitored that and they banned people for buying. Their money's called Meseta. They banned people for buying money in that game. However, I did manage to find people being lazy, because you used to go down to the shop area and you could buy these themes for your room, like a country theme, a city theme, whatever theme you wanted. They would sell like these 4 different themes. You'd go down there and buy them for cheap. Well, I buy a shitload, put them in storage, and I would set just like a crazy outlandish price. I noticed people were buying these. I'm going there and buying it for like 160 a piece, and I'm literally selling them for like maybe 100, 200,000 a piece. So I was able to control the market. So I spent all this time working up this money, and like none of my stuff transferred over. And like, we get used as new games come out, like we get used to. Obviously, you played the old Monster Hunter, like your Monster Hunter stuff and previous Monster Hunters don't transfer over. Like, I would have rather them do a whole different game where I couldn't have access to anything from the previous game, and I would just completely migrated. We'd have probably started all over. Granted, we all had to level up and all that stuff again, but like, you're offering like these little, you're dangling these carrots in front of the players about certain stuff transferring over. Well, if you're going to do that, just have a whole new game.
Yep.
Different characters, everything like that. I'd have felt less upset about it.
Monster Hunter did it the best way in this new one, which was if you had an old save file from Worlds and you booted up Wilds, in the very first cutscene that happens, there is an expedition of hunters going through this new land, and as it pans over the ship, you get to see whatever your character looks like in that last save file. It literally loads it into Wilds, and you get to see your other hunter like as a bodyguard on this ship, and it's like,
That's cool.
It's time to go. And they gave you cosmetic stuff too, thank yous for playing the game, but it's like, I thought it was perfect because you're sending off your hunter, your old hunter. He's, risen in the ranks now. He's a badass. And here's the new hunter about to jump into his journey,
It's
I
like
thought,
it's like in D&D when you usually, unless the dungeon master is a very good dungeon master, usually if you have a character become a god, gets retired,
yep,
new character comes in, you play that character. So I like exactly how you described Monster Hunter. Or even if you do something like, I'll harp back to the Suikoden series. I know a lot of people aren't familiar with it, but like, certain games you could preload a previous save file, and this is like obviously not a multiplayer game, so it's a little different. But like, depending upon what level you were in the previous game or characters, like certain stuff will transfer over. Like if you upgrade this weapon so far, the weapons might transfer over some, or if you or when you recruit recurring characters, they might be a specific level. So something like that would be really cool, but don't dangle this carrot in front of my face of like,
yep,
you get to transfer this character, and you don't just like transfer it. Like, you're supposed to be able to go back and forth between the games, and like, I can go back and forth with this character between the games, but like, I literally have this full ass inventory of all this stuff that's fucking censored. I can't do nothing with.
yep.
So But Monster Hunter is something I can see me trying.
Yeah, and I don't expect that Monster Hunter is a game for everybody. I never in a million years would have thought Monster Hunter was a game for me, but it itches or it scratches that itch in the perfect spot that is good.
And everybody has a game like that too. It's not just you with Monster Hunter. It's me with the Suikoden series, or like we talked about Evolve. Evolve was not a super popular game, but there is a niche group of people that really like Monster Hunter. It's like Souls-like games. Souls-like games are beloved by a group of people, but like it's not for everybody, so to speak. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no. Is your main gripe with this with Phantasy Star Online just that it didn't transfer your stuff on over? Are they continuing to do that to everybody?
Well, see, I started playing when New Genesis came out. Like I put 900 hours from Phantasy Star Online 2 from March 22nd, I think is when it came out, 2020, until that year November. I put a lot of hours in because obviously laid off for the pandemic temporarily. But when New Genesis came out, the game didn't work quite as well when it first came out. And there's an article I wrote, and then like I have pictures of me falling through the map. Like I didn't talk about any of this a second ago, but like you also didn't have access to rooms at the beginning. There was no alliances at the beginning. Um, it seemed like what we get a lot with games where it seemed like the game was kind of rushed out the door to have like this next cool thing because Phantasy Stars have never had an open world aspect. That's what they were building this game about, is the open world aspect and being able to go back and forth between games. So there's a few different gripes. Like I said, it wasn't. I don't think it was completely finished when it first came out. No access to rooms, no access to alliances. I've fell through maps multiple times. I have pictures still somewhere, and the big thing, like I said, is like you said, we're going to be able to go back and forth between these games with ease of access. Well, ease of access is having to unequip all my weapons before I go to this game or put them in my storage or whatever I need to do, and then get completely new weapons. Like I said, if you're going to have a new game, just give me no access to anything in the previous game, and the people that will want to play your game will come forward. But I don't think it was completely finished when it launched either. So that's another big gripe.
Okay, because like I'm watching some of the videos on Steam right now, and it looks really cool. But
like the game looks cool and everything. It's got all the flashy stuff, open world, random world boss, multiple people can fight, but there are aspects that I didn't like besides that. I'm gonna try to find these pictures for you and I'll post them in as soon as I find the fucking pictures.
yeah, no, I might give it a shot at some point. I don't know.
It's free, so
Yeah, that's good. That's why I'm saying I might give it a shot, is because it's free. So it's not like I'm gonna be wasting a bunch of money. But what you got anything there, big old Chris, that you wanted to get off your chest?
I do. I didn't know if you wanted to grab your topics first or what.
We'll do one off your list, and if we're still rocking and rolling and still got plenty of time, we will hop to mine.
I think we'll have plenty of time. I got 4, but I'll pick a quick one just because I think this one's fun. So I told Quentin about this before the show. So obviously all 3 of us are anime people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all have the different animes we like, different genres. But one anime I think could be listed in a lot of anime lovers' top animes of all time. I don't know where it would place on everybody's, but Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is a really good anime. I feel like a lot of people enjoy. So I was curious, and I think each of us will do this between each other. I was curious if you had to identify us as a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood character, who would it be? And I will go first. I came up with this, like I told Quentin, like I didn't have any topics written down. Usually I have a little bit of notes and stuff like that, but I did some research this morning. So Quentin was the first one that came to mind and why I thought of this. Because I'd seen some Full Metal Alchemist stuff pop up on my TikTok. So if I had to relate Q to a Full Metal Alchemist character, I'm going to go with the male General Armstrong.
Homie, specifically, I had to make sure that you knew male.
Yeah.
Well, the female one's kind of angry and scary to some people, and Q is not an angry person or a scary person at the least bit. I think of General Armstrong, he's absolutely hilarious. He's funny. Quentin's kind of buff. Quentin's got the muscles. And I don't know about anybody else, but like, I don't think I've ever had an experience with Quentin where we're spending time together in some aspect and Quentin just not making me laugh. Anytime I see General Armstrong on screen and whatever interaction he's having, whether it be with Mustang or Hughes or just whoever, Armstrong always has me dying. And I think, granted, Q's not fucking 6'9" or 7 foot or whatever he is. I think Q relates to General Armstrong pretty well. Now, the one I'm going to get some flack for is probably Skaggs. Hear me out. Hear me out. We're taking female male out of the question, but I think Skaggs relates a lot to Winry. And here's why.
Is it because I'm a mechanic?
I didn't even think about that, to be honest. But that's another good point. I'm glad you added more leverage to my argument. That is not the point I was getting at. The point is that over time, she becomes more of a creative genius as she works on I forgot the fucking character's name.
Alphonse and
Edward. Alphonse and Edward. As she works more on like their equipment, specifically, like you can see kind of her creative genius from like the beginning of like when they're kids and they try to bring their mother back or whatever. How much she grows as a character, and I guess I'm relating a lot of this argument to Magic because I've played Magic with you guys since 2017 or 2018 now.
Yeah.
And I can see the creative juices that Skaggs has improved on just from like the Dragon Reanimator deck that I would have never thought of originally with the autographed Steve-O Nicol Bolas to Skaggs having a viable argument when we're making his 5-color Niv Mizzet deck about this one card. I don't remember what it is. It's the flip card.
Hey, it's great.
I still disagree. I still think it should have been the Tybalt, but
I had the Tybalt in there.
The improvement of Winry from beginning and the intelligence and just the character progression that she gains throughout the entire show, plus Skaggs offered the mechanic aspect I totally had forgot about. I can relate that to Skaggs' progression through just Magic in general, how much knowledge he's gained since the beginning. So that's why I say Skaggs is Winry. And if I'm going to relate myself, I think, in my opinion, and I had pushback from the last time I did this with somebody because they said I was most like Greed. I told Q this. They had a viable argument for Greed because of how he is with his friends, whatever, and cocky or whatever. I think I relate most to Roy Mustang. He's an ambitious guy, has goals that he wants to pursue ultimately with becoming, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, too bad, he becomes blind. But throughout, he had a lot of trials and tribulations to get to his goal of becoming the Fuhrer, which at the end of the series, he's the fucking Fuhrer. I want to do something within the gaming industry. I want to have my own truck. I got that. A house. I want to get a Pro Tour invite for Magic before I'm the end of my 40th year. So like when I turn 40, before I turn 41, I'd like to get a Pro Tour invite. And I have these goals and I've set. And I've started accomplishing a lot of them. And like for a while, I was on probation. And that's one of the things they had me do before I got off probation was they make a 5-year plan. And I've accomplished everything within the 5-year plan besides being married. we don't know if that's going to happen. Only time will tell. But I'm just very goal oriented. Mustang's kind of cocky, confident, and arrogant. So that's who I relate myself with. But Q was by far the quickest person I came up with.
It's funny that you say that because my pick for you was Roy Mustang.
Same.
And my pick for Skaggs was Armstrong. And my pick for myself, I didn't know we were gonna do it like that.
Why
For me,
why Skaggs Armstrong? I'm curious.
he exudes some of that same kind of, more of the like humor-esque side of
I can
Armstrong
see that.
and the confident side of Armstrong, where it's like, I don't know, the same vibe. I don't know if you watched Seven Deadly Sins, but the same vibe is like Escanor,
I have.
where I am who I am, and it is what it is. If I had to pick for me, though, I don't know.
I was gonna say the example you could give for that is just like that fucking post that was in that you and Bub couldn't get out of the ground or whatever.
Yeah, just
That
or you carrying that piano in.
yeah. Everybody's like, nah, you can't do it. Watch me. Got it.
We had two guys on one side and Skaggs on the other side. Manhandled a piano into the house. So
Skaggs is a strong motherfucker. As someone that's wrestled Skaggs and seen Skaggs wrestle other people, Skaggs is a strong guy.
Yeah.
God,
you guys have known each other
really.
for years. This should be easy.
It's not about knowing the other person. Like, we know the other person. It's just like trying to find somebody that fits enough of what we know about each other. That's the issue. I gotta look up a character.
Someone told me, I told Quentin about this as I was talking with my other buddies in this Facebook group, because he had just started watching. He was looking for anime recommendations. He's a very picky guy. So like we mentioned, Soul Leveling and Full Metal Alchemist and all this other stuff. And then we got to who we relate to, and this guy said I related to the Fuhrer, which I'm not gonna turn down Mr. Bradley. The leader
Absolutely
of the
not.
country.
See, hey, I mad relate to Bradley especially in one scene of all of Full Metal, is when that kid is just scream crying at her daddy's funeral and he's getting mad. I fucking hate it when kids cry. Like, I'm trying to eat and your kid's screaming and crying. I definitely want to throw it outside and let it fend for itself.
I don't have one for me. I don't know. To be fair, it's been a minute since I've watched Full Metal.
Tucker. You're Shao Tucker.
Shao Tucker? I don't even know who that is.
That's the guy that turned his kid into a chimera.
Dude! That's dastardly.
I did that to my buddies. I have a couple buddies that their dad wasn't really a good figure in their life or wasn't really around. So every year on Father's Day, I tell them Happy Father's Day and I send them a picture, a gif of Shao Tucker. But just a fun, interesting topic.
Yeah.
I was thinking about stuff. I'm like, who would we relate to? So,
who'd you pick, Skaggs? Have you said yet?
Not for you.
No, but I'm kind of thinking, and this might sound super disrespectful off rip, but Riza Hawkeye.
Hawkeye's a goat, man. That's the blonde chick. It's Mustang's assistant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mainly just because homie is a great sixth man to have. Like, there's not a whole lot of situations where I'm gonna be pissed off to have Quentin as like help or like assistance or fucking anything in general. And
I
she's
hardly
just,
ever make
She's
things
actually
worse.
she's actually very important to the story because of
That's
the
how-
tattoo on her back, and I can't remember exactly. Well, it's off the top of my head. It's escaped me, but that tattoo on Riza Hawkeye's back is very important. It's like she's an important part to the story. She's important to Mustang.
that's how Roy's able to have the gloves and be able to have all the firepower that he has.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think Riza
I don't
Hawkeye
know.
fits you pretty all right.
I don't know how Q is with a gun, but she's a badass character.
Yeah.
Deadly.
Man, trying to pick for yourself kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Cuz that's what
I tried to find two characters that I thought would spit corn dogs into the air and catch them in each other's mouths, but sorry, there's no Full Metal Alchemist characters that I think would come close to that.
Yeah, you have to go to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for that, dude.
Oh, JoJo's would be a fun one to do.
Yeah.
Oh.
I told one of my buddies in this Facebook group they remind me of Gluttony though.
That's
was
almost what I said
expecting-
for myself.
I was expecting somebody to say that. And I was like, no, all right. I kind of know. I think I know. Oh no, I gave you Riza, so never mind. If it wasn't that, it was gonna be one of the other suits of armors, and it was gonna be the Butcher Boy.
Oh.
Because you get Q around a bunch of people and he's just loud and funny. So, but no, I still think Roy fits well for you. I don't know for me.
Yeah.
I would
I'm copping out.
I was gonna say for me, I don't know. I love King Bradley, and I feel like I am a lot more of an
Barry the
asshole than what I
Chopper.
need to be. What's that?
Is that who you were talking about? Suits of Armor, Barry the Chopper.
Yes, Barry the Chopper. I love Barry the Chopper.
I had to look it up. Yeah, Barry the Chopper's fucking hilarious.
Okay, all
Hey,
right. So
if you're picking one, then I'm gonna pick Alphonse for me.
Okay, I could see that.
yeah,
Alphonse is also there's a couple moments when he gets angry at certain people, but like I've never really seen you mad. Alphonse is more of a generally helpful person. You both have helped me out throughout the years and stuff like that. So I could see you being Alphonse too.
yeah.
don't know
I
if you're
was
trying to
gonna
bring
say
me in.
Edward, but I didn't want to give myself the main character. Just because he does
Everybody's Edward in their own eyes, dude.
he does get angry a lot, but he's goofy and funny. Instead of being short, I'm fat. Okay, well, hey, I like this idea. This is kind of fun. You want to do it with Naruto characters since there's so many more.
I say we
Yeah.
do. I say we make it a segment
Okay.
once a podcast,
Okay.
different animes, and we'll call the next one in this one. So I like Naruto for the next one.
Okay.
Okay.
Gives us
We-
some time to deliberate.
We've already Q's already told me who I remind him in there, and it's disrespectfully accurate, but
All right, so I have a couple other things. Or you want to get in your topic next?
Sure, we'll go through it. So something that's popping up on a little bit more right now is it's a like initiative thing called Stop Killing Games. Has anybody else watched any videos about it or anything like that?
The only video that I've watched didn't explain it very well, like what the
I've seen a
actual
couple
initiative
TikToks.
is.
That's about it.
That's what I don't have the best understanding of it right now, but I have what I feel like is a decent understanding of it to kind of be able to talk about it a little bit. So I found out because there's a bunch of drama with a certain creator called Pirate Software, and that he went off and just kind of being an asshole about the whole thing, and got proven that that some of the things that he's saying is not actually what it is, and he is doubled down, refuses to cave or whatever, something like that. So pretty much what it is that it's gonna try to prevent the people who make games from killing off their games, because the thought is that we've bought this product from them, and we should be able to have it for as long as we want it or need it or what have you. And it prevents them from shutting down a game and it not being playable anymore. So like the one that everybody points out is the game called The Crew. So like any games that need to have like a server or like an internet connection or something like that, like they can't just shut it down and you cannot play it anymore. Like they need to be able to, if they want to stop supporting it and like kind of shut it down, they need to still give you the option of making your own server and being able to run the game off of your own server type deal.
Which a lot of games do that, right?
Yeah.
I hear of lots of people playing old games on their private servers.
Yeah, and I mean, even games that aren't shut down right now let you make your own private servers and you can do whatever you want on there. But it's essentially just trying to make sure that once we bought a product, we will have it indefinitely until we either want to get rid of it or do get rid of it type deal. And
yeah,
that's how I'm understanding it. And what's getting Pirate into some hot water is that the way that, and I kind of understand because it's a very broad statement. The dude came out and like after Pirate's whole situation came out and was like, this is more like what I had just explained, was that we want them to leave them in a state where we can, if we want, play them still. And the way that Pirate interpreted it was like, if WoW shuts down tomorrow, they need to be able to make the game a single player game where everybody can just play their own single player version of WoW at any time they want.
Seems like a silly interpretation.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a stretch, but it's also a stretch enough to where like he's inside of what the broadness of what the statement says, that I guess it can still be interpreted that way, but the guy has come out and said that that's not it. So
yeah.
And he's not giving up on that whole situation. He's just, is what it is. And what do you guys think about that? Because, I mean, I am very much down for that. We're getting into a point in the gaming sphere where, like, companies don't want us to own our games anyways. We are not buying the games anymore. We are buying the rights to be able to get a key
license
to play the game. Yeah. And
I
but
I think that we have shot ourselves in the foot at this point of thinking that anything like this initiative, though it's a good idea and though I agree with it and everything, we are so far gone down the rabbit hole of subscription based living in every aspect of our life that it is not feasible to come back from anymore. When you can buy a subscription service to send new clothes to your house every 2 weeks so that your wardrobe stays updated, we've totally overshot any and every point of return
Yeah,
from things like that. You can buy your groceries on a subscription service. Just the other day, I was looking on the app and it's like, "Hey, if you put all this stuff in this special cart, once a week we'll just charge you for it and we'll deliver it to your house." That's my groceries. I don't know if I want to eat the same thing every single week, but people that do, that option's there. Or surely those types of things are made for people where it's like, I need diapers, you know, once a week, so I can put that on my weekly list. And it's supposed to be a small list of things, but now that we
An
live
old
in this
person,
world,
or an old person, just simply don't have the an old person or a handicapped person doesn't have the ability to get out and purchase
exactly,
groceries and stuff like
yeah.
that.
So it was all created for good or ease of access in some way, but it has now shifted the mentality of the way that not only we consume products, but the way that the products are even being represented to us anymore. Why would we make a physical cartridge or a disc or anything to give to you so that you can have fun with it when all that data and everything that we would pump into all these cartridges and all, or put on all these discs, we can just sell you via online, and at any point in time when we don't feel like you guys need that anymore, we can just shut it off because it's our data, it's our game, it's our every assets and everything else that we've used. So it makes no, it when you look at it from the logistics of a game company, makes more money, does make more money and makes more sense for them.
absolutely. But that's what it's supposed to be. This initiative is supposed to be a consumer protection thing. And
Sure.
I think, like, specifically when it comes to the pirate thing, is he's thinking of it in the way of, like, a dev and thinking doomsday, like, oh my god, I have to make this be able to be operable for eternity, even if
Yeah.
I shut it down.
Seen, I looked while you were talking. I looked, and I think I've seen a big thing right now is in European Union or whatever it is, European area, and they had like 47% of what they needed for the petition at whatever date that article was written. Um, I don't know how many servers or games you guys have specifically played. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a little bit older. Um, I remember when Fantasy Star Universe's server shut down. Like, there's videos of like the server shutting down for multiple games. This one specifically, I remember because it was a loved game. I put so many hours into this game, and I remember the server shutting down. I remember the final 10 minutes, and it was sad. But unfortunately, um, well, I would love to just keep playing games. Um, and I'm a consumer first. I understand the business aspect of only having a game active as so long as they're making money,
Mm-hmm.
and it's worth it to keep the business financially viable. And
Yep.
um, it could branch into our next topic about Microsoft layoffs, but I'm on the camp of definitely, I would love to be able to play my games forever and ever. I don't need a World of Warcraft to become a single player experience. World of Warcraft's based on the multiplayer, the raids, the dungeons, all that stuff. Same thing with Phantasy Star. I would have loved to keep playing Universe forever. And there is a single player story to Phantasy Star Universe, which I didn't mention. There's actually a single player version of the game. I could still play the single player version, but it was really for the multiplayer, let's be honest. So
Yeah.
I understand what the movement is for. It's not
I
going to be
think,
financially feasible for any company. Um,
yeah,
there is, forget what I've seen. There was an old ass game someone talked about, popped up on my TikTok the other day or whatever, and the server was still active for an old Xbox 360 game. Like the Xbox online services for 360 still work and everything as well. So like we are multiple generations past where this game had come out, and even the fact that it still has online servers right now working is a testament to how much certain video game people are dedicated to keeping these servers going. Like we just got, we're getting Gears of War Reloaded, which is Gears of War 1, and they're bringing servers back for Gears of War 1. So like in different aspects and avenues, I mean, it's possible, but companies, whether it be Xbox, Microsoft, PlayStation, Nintendo, they're all about their shareholders and the bottom dollar, and they're going to keep doing what makes the money. And like Skag said, physical games are becoming less and less uh, relevant. As don't get me wrong, love my physical games, but physical copies of games are becoming less and less relevant for people, and we are just paying the licensing to be able to use it. It's just like Forza Motorsport, for example, or Need for Speed Underground, or someone that licensed cars or licensed music, they only get to use that for a certain amount of time or sell that game with that specific music or those cars for a specific amount of time. There's old Forza games that aren't on the marketplace for Xbox anymore because time frame ran out. So I support the movement, but it's not gonna happen. I mean, if those people get all the signatures, it's gonna be different. I don't know what they'll do, but it's not financially possible to keep servers for years and years and years and years. I'm surprised games like Terra. You guys know Terra? I'm
Know
surprised,
about it.
surprised games like Terra and Neverwinter, to be honest. MMOs like that, I'm surprised the servers are still running for those free to play games. But, if they can draw people in with those microtransactions of the stores and Zen markets and online marketplaces and all this other stuff, that's one way I guess it could work, but I don't think it's possible.
no. The only way that I see it being possible is if we went back to how games used to be, which is a physical copy. And even then, the issues with it now is that everyone wants to play a online game and a multiplayer game, and you want to play against people and you want to be able to talk to people. They're not really making single player games anymore, which, going back to Nintendo 64 and things like that, there's play I mean, I could go plug my 64 in right now and play a game that has been the same game forever and will, unless my cartridge breaks. And in kind of the same vein as what I had to say before, we have created this monster. We wanted games that are more realistic and games where we can hang out with our friends and games where we're interconnected, and that necessitates having servers and having people monitor those servers and making sure that there's no bugs where the game gets so incredibly broken that you can defeat one of the hardest monsters in the game in 0.78 seconds and ruin the leaderboards, and and all that costs money to have. No one is debugging code from 10-year-old games servers for free unless
They
they
have to
absolutely love it.
they have to put somebody. We'll use Terra for example, just like because that's an older game that's still active. Like whatever company, and I don't know the company off my head that runs Terra, they have to put a Quentin or a Skaggs on a specific section of this game to updates or whatever, like talking about bug fixes, like, okay, so I'm paying Quentin or Skaggs to work on this specific part of this game when Quentin and or Skaggs could be working on a quote unquote Terra 2 or Arc. There's
So
Arc still have active servers. People are working still Arc, making sure, everything's working with the dinos, taming and all that shit when we still haven't seen the Arc 2 come out. That's supposed to have Vin Diesel or whatever the thing was with Xbox. I don't even remember.
It's
I
like
know I don't believe.
40 years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah, like we're supposed to have seen that by now, but their original Arc servers are still going, and I'm sure they'll be going for quite a while because Arc's a fairly popular game.
Yeah.
And like we could
so
have that Quentin or that Skaggs working on Arc 2 to get that out, but no. And why I support maintaining servers and all that stuff. We're paying that Quentin and or that Skaggs to keep debugging or fixing stuff for the original game.
So this also comes from somebody that is much smarter than me that I watch, and it doesn't mean that that company has to maintain a server. They have to leave it in like the last state that it was in, and like you as the person that wants to play need to be able if you want to be able to play it, you can put a server up and you can play it yourself or like with local friends or whatever, like stuff like that. Which I don't know how any of that shit works.
I don't either.
So
My knowledge.
I think that's a fair thing. If somebody loves the game so much, I think that's fair to ask. The other problem that we run into is how many games do you know of that come out today that are ready to play day one launch? I mean, what do we do a majority of the time on a day one launch game when we're ready to play and we have it downloaded,
someone
ready
has
to
to
go?
fix a bunch of issues. Like
Exactly.
Monster Hunter, I was able to rock and roll day one, ready to go. You had to fucking figure out a bunch of issues.
I had to update my graphics driver, just like all kinds of stuff. And a lot of other people were also having the same issues. So that whole point to go into, I think it also puts a lot of responsibility on the companies now to, you have to create a game and code that can last, that when you leave it in its final state, it is as good as it's going to be. Because when I look back on old games, one of my favorite things to do was to try to find glitches in games and try to find the little bugs and the stuff that they couldn't quite get ironed out. And
Sounds like Shangri-La Frontier, huh?
yeah,
Yeah,
and
he loves Bethesda games, is what he's
I
saying.
love Bethesda games. But I like that stuff because, especially in the old games, when you went and bought a disc where the game is downloaded on it, there's nobody coming in and able to update any of that stuff, and so you can exploit things, you can take advantage of certain things, and I just don't think that they are creating too heavily now. I think we rely on being able to patch something. Oh, something crazy is happening. Well, tomorrow or here in about 3 hours, we will have a patch that goes out, kicks everybody off all the servers, forces you to do a patch, and there it is. It's all fixed. And
Video
I think
games
it
usually always have a day one patch nowadays.
absolutely. And some of that is not the fault of the companies. Some of that is probably just having a gigantic group. I mean, look at like Helldivers. Nobody ever thought that that game was going to have as much traction as it did day one, day two, day 30. And I mean, for a couple months, I was playing that game heavy. And every week they were like, hey, we're sorry. Like, these game issues are just from us not being able to handle the amount of people that are on the servers. Like, we're trying our best. And I think that there's a lot less companies like that and a lot more companies that are of the mindset of just put something out. Just let them start playing it, and the 10%, 20, 30% of people that are having issues with it, they can just cry about it and we'll do some patches tonight like we're behind on our deadline. And that doesn't lead very well to having good code to stand the test of time of people playing on their own servers, you know. You have one little misstep where people can really heavily exploit something, it makes the game not fun anymore. And then you have people bitching. So, I guess with me just saying that, that is kind of a counter argument in and of itself too from the company to the consumer, which is I don't know if I can leave the game in a state that you will be happy enough with that it makes more sense for us to just shut it down completely and not worry about it than to potentially have to hear about the bugs that didn't get fixed in the very last update that we did that you guys cry about on forums now.
Yeah. And see, that's where I think it's kind of interesting because the way that I understand everything is that it's all just like, hey, make a law to what, like they want government to make a law that to protect the consumer in that way, and then it's gonna be all right. Well, game developers got to figure it out, and I think it will be a very very interesting thing. And it might even be like super beneficial to us because they might actually take the time that they need to take on their games to get their code right, or you know, do updates how they should be done and shit like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you just see a lot of companies be like, okay, well, we're going to completely change the model, and this is no longer a video game. This is something else, and we're going to call it something else because it legally gets around the loophole, and because you guys bitched and made a law about it, we're going to double, triple down on you don't own any of this. And
Mm-hmm.
every game is a monthly subscription. And
Or
everything that
microtransactions.
yes, everything that you do is a microtransaction. And if you guys want to be angry about it, you put legislation in place that forced our hands into fundamentally changing the system. So
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm wondering is like, what's gonna be the fucking clapback from game devs and publishers and stuff like that on the whole situation.
I can tell you this: if this happens like that, the people that don't normally have a publisher that have to go find out will have a lot harder time finding a publisher. There's two
yep,
games I backed as a Kickstarter. One's called Penny Blood, which is supposed to be the spiritual successor to Shadow Hearts, and the other game it was a double Kickstarter. It was two games in one. The other one is Armed Fantasia to the End of the Wilderness, which is supposed to be the spiritual successor to the Wild Arms series. Both not even MMOs or anything of that sort that requires consistent servers, anything like that. And games like these, people love the Wild Arms series, and Shadow Hearts series are quite popular as well. And people like this that are making spiritual successors to these games are having a hard time finding a publisher. I went from getting monthly updates to, and I'm not concerned that the game's not going to come out, but went from getting monthly updates to every 3 months. I think we're at 6 month cycles now, or just whenever they get news. Like they can't find a publisher. So what will happen is, if it's a smaller game that has an MMO, they're going to have a hard time finding a publisher. If they don't find a publisher, either it's going to require lots of microtransactions, or it's going to be a backed Kickstarter game, and
yep.
it might not get backed as a Kickstarter. It's just how it's going to be if it's not owned by EA or Microsoft or Sony or, you know, Tencent or whoever, whatever big people. It probably won't come to light, especially
Yeah.
smaller titles from smaller devs.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's where like Pirate is jumping to like the worst possible thing for him as like the maker of a game is that is the case. That's going to be the case, and it's going to be just make life awful.
Yeah.
And people are getting upset with him because he kind of is, but isn't misrepresenting what they're asking for. I think he's talking more or less like what's probably going to end up happening if that goes through instead of what they're actually saying they're asking for. That deal. He's just being an asshole about it.
I think that more people should rely less heavily on governmental system to make rules about what they can and can't do and voice their opinion more to the consumers. Everybody wants to cry about Call of Duty every year, how it's the same game, how it's microtransactions, how it's this, how it's that. You cannot simultaneously cry and then buy the game and buy the microtransactions and buy the battle pass and buy all of the stuff and then be like, I just don't get why they don't change and do something different. It's because you are consuming the thing that they're doing. If you don't like how Call of Duty is and you didn't buy their game and you and everybody else who felt that way didn't buy the game for 2 years, they would be forced to fundamentally change something because they would not make any money and it wouldn't be beneficial for them to make that game anymore. And too many people get caught up on hype. I have to buy a new Fortnite skin, which Fortnite in and of itself is an enigma, but it blows my mind every day how I hear all these people like, I don't play certain games because I do not agree with the business plan of the game. It may be a super duper fun game and I might have a ton of fun playing it with a ton of people. I could have the most fun. Maybe it might be the funnest game I've ever played. But if I fundamentally don't agree with what the company is doing that makes the game, I will not buy it and I will not play it to not show support so that hopefully they change their ways or change their processes or, you know, and that's where we're missing missing the mark is instead of having the government say, here's a law where you're not allowed to do it legally, you're not allowed to do it. Just quit giving these people money.
Mm-hmm.
Quit filling their pockets and they will be forced to change. It's the same thing that Monster Hunter, I'll go back to it every time. It's been tons of games where they've had lots of opportunities to do the layered weapons, and I don't know about any of the mobile or any of those kind of games, but as far as I can tell, this is one of the first instances, if not the first instance, where they give us layered weapons. And it's been something that we've been asking for and asking for and asking for and asking for. That's what you have to do.
I think it's the first instance where it's not like, hey, here's a microtransaction skin or something.
Yes. Yeah.
I was gonna say because Call of Duty's been doing that shit for fucking.
Well, no, I mean like within the Monster Hunter franchise.
Yeah.
People have been asking for it for a long time, and finally it has happened. And you can do that. You can do that with any game. If we can bully a major corporation out of making Sonic the Hedgehog look like a freak and making him look like the real Sonic the Hedgehog in a major motion picture movie that has Jim Carrey as one of the stars in it, if you make them go back to the drawing board on a digital character just by bullying them and saying I will never see that movie, you don't realize how far your specific dollar goes when it comes to what you want in things.
But
And it's just
here's the catch-22 to that is that people who go see movies and stuff will actually like vote with their wallet type deal. People who play games, we just don't do it. And
I don't understand why.
I think it's FOMO. It's straight up just FOMO, not being able to actually get in day one on something and missing out because everybody else is gonna do it or whatever. But like, I don't know.
Call of Duty hasn't been fun since 2015, dude.
I haven't personally purchased a Call of Duty. I had a buddy buy me Call of Duty one year for Christmas, but I haven't purchased. I don't even remember what Call of Duty he bought me, but I haven't purchased a Call of Duty in a long time. Like Cold War, maybe was the last Call of Duty that I bought. Can't remember.
Yeah. I have not bought a day one Call of Duty since they did the remake of the COD 4. And every other one past that has been like hey, it's been out for like 6 months, so it's half off. Okay,
or Game Pass.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I'm like, okay, I'll buy it half off just to play it because it sounds fun right now or something. Or there's been Call of Duties where I've just never fucking bought it. And
yeah,
I don't know. It's one of those things that nobody really does but with their wallet or anything. Because me, in my opinion, Call of Duty hasn't been worth a full like $60. I think the last Modern Warfare remake, I would, to me, value it up there. But after, I mean, that's the only one really so far that I do believe has had that value to it since I don't know, Black Ops 3 maybe, because Black Ops 3 was pretty fun to me. But other than that, no. They're like $20-$30 games at best for me.
Yeah.
And that's why I'll only ever wait until I can pay $20-$30 unless there's something amazing going.
Yeah. I definitely don't think it is an issue that even if some kind of legislature did pass, I don't think that it's an issue that is going to be solved or figured out anytime soon, for sure.
Yeah. No, and even, let's just say, even it does get started, like, it's gonna be 5 years from now probably before anything ever happens.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was my little topic and everything. Well, that was my one big topic, and I think we all agree that it'd be nice to have our games protected to where we could always play it if we wanted, but how the realistic aspect of it happening is probably very, very small.
Yeah.
If you got another small one there, Chris, we can go over one more small one.
I'll leave it up to you. I'll save the ROG Ally S or X for next time. We can talk about Microsoft layoffs or
Sure.
Recent MTG standard. All right, so
Let's go MTG standard. We haven't talked Magic in an episode or two, I feel like.
all right. So I'll just glance over this Microsoft thing real quick. It's nothing. But we talked about this games and stuff like this of speaking with their wallet. Well, Microsoft is making hand over fist money because of games like Call of Duty, subscription service, all this stuff. I know a lot of people that console war are curious of like, and some non-console war people, but they're like Xbox is making all these subscription services. They partnered with MetaQuest. There's a limited edition MetaQuest headset that's Xbox branded. They got this handheld coming out. They're allowing Steam, multiple storefronts. And they talk about how is Xbox going to make money. Well, we know that next month, according to Bloomberg, they're going to lay off around 2,000 people. Don't know exactly how many. The affected division is Xbox and global sales. Early in 2023, obviously we knew at some point they were going to lay off Activision Blizzard people after they bought it, brought it all in, etc. Redundant jobs, stuff like that. Early 2023, they laid off 10,000 people, various divisions. January 2024, they laid off 1,900 people. And this is, I'm talking about Microsoft, Xbox, the whole company in general. 1,900 people, Activision, Blizzard, and Xbox. September 2024, 650 in gaming. May 2025, 6,000 product engineering. June 2025, 300 people at Redmond headquarters. And then next month's going to be around 2,000 people, Xbox and global sales. We talk about all these innovations Xbox are trying to make to get their games to everywhere. Some people think this is because of AI. I just wanted to not gloss over the fact that people in the industry are being laid off. We talk about speaking with our wallets, and if we're going to speak with our wallets, games like Concord and Redfall that don't do well, this is going to be a potential. If we speak with our wallets, and I still think we should. It just depends on how we do it. And layoffs happen all the time, and I believe they should be talked about. But we'll get more into that next time, but I want to make sure we mention that. But Standard is a Magic format that doesn't really have a lot of bans for the most part. Recently, we had Pro Tour Final Fantasy, best-selling Magic set of all time before even released to the public, just based off pre-orders. A lot of stuff's more expensive than MSRP prices and stuff like that. Well, in Standard for a while, Is It Prowess has been a top deck, and that's multiple Standard formats. It's got Corey Steelcutter. It's got Monstrous Rage, which has been out, and I don't think this is completely updated.
Torch has been Tower, good for a long time.
Yes. But Prowess has been a top deck for a while now. And a lot of people, and I agreed with people like Jim Davis, Corey Baumeister, about people need to not scream for bans quite as quickly. Like, I'm not a ban-heavy mindset. I believe people can try to innovate and stuff over time. Well, a lot of people said it's been plenty of time, and bans are a necessity, as these are the top 8 decks for Pro Tour Final Fantasy. Mono Red Aggro, Is It Prowess? Mono Red Aggro, Is It Prowess? Mono Red Aggro, Is It Prowess? Is It Prowess? Mono Red Aggro. That was the top 8. So a lot of overlap between cards. I mean, obviously some cards are different because Prowess is slightly different than Mono Red, but it plays a lot of the same cards. Monstrous Rage and stuff like that. We go to Is It Prowess was 41.95% of the playfield, which is 138 total decks. Mono Red Aggro was 11.85. Mono Red Aggro was the third most played. We have Storm Chaser's Talent, Corey Steelcutter, Opt, Torch the Tower, Monstrous Rage, Sleight of Hand, stuff like that. Obviously not all played in card for card, but a lot of the popular cards and most used cards are cards that are played in those decks. So while
anything that has a playable percentage over like 20% to me is unhealthy.
Yes.
I don't completely agree.
That is an unhealthy meta.
Because, like, specifically now, I believe that it is. But, like, if you have a new people when they come into the game, chances are, a lot of the ways we teach people is, play a burn deck, play just this, attacky deck, and stuff like that. So a lot of new people tend to play these decks, and like you have Azorius Omniscience combo, which is 20% of the field, and that deck is super bricky, and I don't believe it's an unhealthy deck. But if it's a high percentage for an extended period of time, like Is It Prowess, I think something needs to happen. A lot of people, I agree with Jim Davis that he thinks Corey Stillcutter is it's a very popular card. It's popular in Modern as well. It's the equipment. It's cast your second spell. You make a Monk token with Prowess, and Corey Stillcutter gets attached to it or whatever.
That was out
And,
of Dragons, right?
Give me a second. I'll look at the symbol. Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know the other card that he says. It's a mice. It's not randomly listed over, but it's a mice card that does. I can't remember exactly what it does. He thinks those two cards would be fine. He listed a couple other cards that if you want to hit multiple decks, you could do it like this. But I specifically standard, because standard is where you pull in your new people, and if you ban cards, you got to be careful of banning cards in standard. Whereas old formats, while it sucks, they're more expensive. It's more common, and shit breaks easier. So Corey Stillcutter for me. Jim Davis thinks it's cool to have a pump spell like Monstrous Rage as a very popular card in the format. A lot of people disagree. They want Steel Cutter, Monstrous Rage, multiple other stuff banned. I'm not in for banning a whole bunch of cards, but Corey Stillcutter I think can go, and probably the mice card. I can't think of it. I'm gonna look up while we talk about it. But what do you think about bans overall in standard? And like you said, you think anything over 20% is unhealthy?
Yeah, I think anything that's like, if you're consistently hogging up a fifth to like a quarter of the overall percentage, I don't think that's very healthy. And I could even give a little bit of leeway and go like 25, like even 30%. It but that's even a little bit much for me. Like I think anything that's able to stay around long enough to always be at 20% of the field always is a little unhealthy. I think that's when you should start looking at the the decks, because I remember whenever I was first getting into like modern and everything, it was a lot of like 10 to 15, like 10 to 16% of the field would be like this one type of deck in somewhere, like in whatever tournament. And I think like that is probably a very good sign of like a healthy format, is that there's enough decks out there and enough variety of decks out there. I think whenever you start getting, I hate figured out metas. Like I solved metas. I hate that, because that, if anybody ever says that you have a solved game, you have a solved meta, then that just means that okay, there's two or three builds or decks or whatever you're talking about that get played, and that are the, like, if you want to win anything, that's what you play. And
I guess I'm unique in my mindset because I know even in solved metas, I know um, creative people decks can pop up where they could, you know, I'll use the phrase "bust their ass." Um,
I mean, I
I
don't
will
disagree.
mention. I'll mention what's his name. Um, Shota Yasuka. He's a Japanese Hall of Famer. I forget what the main decks were at the time, but he played a blue-red deck with Thang in the Ice when that was standard, and he ended up winning the Pro Tour that year. And I think it depends on, like, because we'll talk about, is it prowess? One of the guys that got me to play Legacy Lands, his name's Jody Keith, and he had a deck that he wanted to play against Is It Prowess, and I think, I don't want to say lazy deck building because I find that kind of an insult, but there's a lot of people that just, oh, well, these people do really good with this deck, so let's just automatically play this deck. And I don't think a format is ever 100% solved. That just might be a personal opinion of mine. I know multiple standard formats that, like, right when the standard format ends before rotation, they find this cool deck that is decent, but, you know, they spent so much time playing, you know, the easier deck it is to win. And I'm not saying prowess or burn or mono red or anything, like just an easy deck. There's obviously different lines of play, ways you want to do something, but I'll use this for an example. Battle for Zendikar standard. That was like Collected Company standard, Ugin era, Ugin Spirit Dragon standard, stuff like that, Hardened Scales. And right before rotation happened, there was a deck that was really good, and it had just popped up, and it played Dim Protector, which is a morph creature. You flip it face up, it's got Mega Morph, it gets a +1/+1 counter, you bring a card back out of your graveyard. And it played this board wipe called Crush of Tentacles, which if it's your second spell you played, you pay it for its surge cost, and you get an 8/8 Octopus. So they would end up playing this Crush of Tentacles, getting the 8/8 Octopus, play the Dim Protector, and then on the next turn, or depending upon how much money you have, you'd flip the Dim Protector up on your opponent's turn, you get the Crush Tentacles back, you double spell on your turn, you bounce everything except Krakens, Octopus, Leviathan, get another 8/8, and you just beat them down like that. And that popped up right at the very end of Standard. I think a lot of people just, you know, that have Pro Tour aspirations, or they want to win Worlds, or they're trying to, I don't think it's ever a good thing to swiftly use trading card games as your line of work, specifically basing off trying to win Pro Tours and all this other stuff. Is it possible? Yeah. But a lot of people just want to play. They want other people to do the work so they can reap the benefits. And like, you have intelligent people, like the most popular deck in Modern for a while was playing One Ring. And it was like, I forget the red enchantment that was banned, but it's the one that lets you cash out your graveyard. And I forget what it's called off the top of my head. But there was other people like Luis Scott Vargas at Pro Tour Lord of the Rings that was it Lord of the Rings? No. Whatever Pro Tour it was that was modern, he played Storm. Assume Ruby Medallions and all that stuff that just came out. And Modern Horizons 3. Pro Tour Modern Horizons 3 is what it was. There was the subset of people that played the One Rings, played the best decks, and then you had other people, good deck builders, Luis Scott Vargas, Reed Duke, and all these other people that tried to do other stuff. So I think it's, people just want the easiest way to the tops. I think if people actually try, don't get me wrong, I think at this point, Corey Stillcutter and maybe one other card needs to be banned. But I think people need to be more creative and actually try to put in the work themselves. I can't tell you how many times I've built a deck or helped somebody build a deck, or one of my friends have built a deck, and we went to F&Ms or big tournaments and did well. I'll tell you this. I have a buddy. His name's Andy Miller, wrestling name Corey Lee. You know who it is, Skaggs. He had never played in a bigger tournament scene. He'd never played outside, like Friends, maybe a small F&M. I had a Mardu Reanimator deck. And that big tournament we did for Team Nemesis, the Open, we had like 16 or 18 people when I gave away the 3 boxes. Do you know what I'm talking? Well, 4 boxes. And he'd never played in a tournament. He got like 5th or 6th place out of like 16 or 18 people. And this guy had literally never played Modern. He's going based off Commander. And that was just a deck. I gave him a brief breakdown. And just a deck that was brewed. It wasn't a meta deck. Wasn't anything like that. And just took the time to build a deck that was cohesive, worked well together. And Skaggs did the same thing. We worked on that Niv Mizzet deck. You did well, multiple different events. Hell, even if you are experienced with a deck that's not as popular, like I think if Quentin only played slivers ever, I think at some point in time, he would just have so much knowledge of different interactions, the way slivers interact with each other versus interacting with other decks. I think Quentin would be able to continually get good results with that deck. And it's just people needs to put in the work, because before this tournament, which was last weekend while I was at work, people were also calling for bans because it was a big popular deck at the last Magic Spotlight, Dragons of Tarkir, or whatever the tournament was. And Jim Davis is like, okay, let's pump the brakes. Let's try to, put in work. Let's have a creative build process. See if we can come up with something that kind of dilutes these decks and knocks the numbers down. It didn't happen, so now we're at the point of wanting bans. And I know I rambled on for quite a bit.
The only thing I will say to like go against what the majority of what you said is a lot of the things that you were saying are exceptions and not the rule. They are people who are insanely talented at deck building and figuring out metas and shit that can do that thing. But when you go to like a local tournament or something, and there's still 30% of everybody's running. Yeah, like when I was right before I quit going around to tournaments and stuff, elementals, 4-color control was the crazy one, and I can't tell you how many I was either playing 4-color elementals, or I was playing against what's the dragon? Blue red. Is it? I can't remember. Of course, it's the blue delve dragon from MH2.
Tide Regent.
Yeah, it was.
Great.
It was the Izzet Regent decks. They were. It was one of those two decks was what I played every single time, and when a meta is that that undiverse, even at a local tournament of like 30 people, then I feel like that's probably pretty unhealthy. And when you get to, I think the part that really sucks for this one is that you got mono red and Izzet Prowess. Those are they're historically one of the cheaper decks to get into. I don't know if they're, as it sits, if they are the cheaper of the decks.
Yeah, they're still relatively cheap, yeah.
So, why would everybody not be running those decks?
Mono red aggro's around $143. These are goldfish prices. $143 in goldfish pricing, and Izzet Prowess is around $457.
And so
but that's because it played Vivi from the Final Fantasy set, which is $58 or $60 right now. It didn't play that before, so you knock off $216 or so for that. Then it was about $200 some for Izzet Prowess too, if you take out the Vivies.
Yeah, and like I'm on MTG decks right now, and the meta share is 28% entirety on Izzet Prowess. I
don't think that's a bad percentage if we're going based off that.
I think that's an awful percentage. It is awful. Because it goes 28%, 10%, 8%, and it slowly it doesn't even take me 10 decks to get down to only 2%. And then it takes me another 5 to get down to less than 1%. That is awful. And that's one reason that I couldn't stand playing Magic all that much afterwards was back then was because I'm playing the same deck every single time. I'm playing one of 3 decks every single time.
Yep. And I'm going to go back to harping the way that I always harp, because Wizards and Hasbro can never do anything right in my eyes, which is, if you're going to spend all the time to create a format, and the basis of your format is that the brand new cards that we release, we want you guys to play them. You can't fucking put out cards that you're not going to let people use. And I get it. There's so many cards to look back through and make sure that there's no issues. But with Standard, that's not the case. They know what sets are about to rotate out with new sets coming in. So there's no excuse, in my opinion, there's no excuse for them to ever have to make any bans or anything like that. You have to change the cards that you're putting out so that it doesn't fundamentally change the game. Just because you want to put out cool cards and overpowered cards that make the game worse, in my opinion, makes it worse when you just put out better versions. I can't remember what the card is now, but there was a card that Andrew and I were talking about where it's like, hey, this is literally 2 cards from like 10 years ago that they smashed into one card, and it's on a creature and it does it better. You can't, I mean, you can't simultaneously do things like that and then be like, I don't know why nobody wants to play Standard anymore. I don't know why everybody's mad when we ban a bunch of cards from Commander. It's because you are systematically tearing down your physical game. One, in my opinion, put my tinfoil hat on here, is because you want to kill the physical version of the game so that you can make a shitload of money exclusively making everybody play it digitally. And 2, because you want to partner with all of these different IPs that will make you a bunch of money, and you can't make their cards weak or lame that nobody uses. So you have to make all these strong cards. Well, then you're thinking about it from 6 different play styles, being Standard, Commander, and any other Pauper, all the other different forms of Magic that people play. And instead of being like, let's try to make a well-balanced card that will fit, it's, well, I've made these 10 overpowered stupid cards that are going to break 3 of our 9 formats. So why don't we try to ban some stuff preemptively before this stuff comes out so that people will play our stupid overpowered cards? And all of that big long rant to basically come back and say, it's Wizards' fault, it's Hasbro's fault still, and make a better game so that people will play your good game. I used to play it. It was a good game. I had qualms with it then, but I definitely do now.
So,
thing I will say is, before Skag goes, is you mentioned you think that the tinfoil hat, they want to kill the game.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only part of your statement that I completely disagree with. And I only say that because certain licenses that we now know about, because Wizards of the Coast fucked up, is, for example, we got Spider-Man coming out. Everybody, lots of people love Spider-Man. Spider-Man World, Marvel, yay.
Yeah.
But the digital clients will not have Spider-Man cards.
Sure.
So I agree with a lot of what you said. And there's going to be a lot of times where Modern Horizons, we see it all the time. New cool cards come out. They're powerful, pushing the format. And it happens in lots of trading card games. You know, it happens a lot in Yu-Gi-Oh! Too, where a new powerful card comes out, an old card that's existed for an extended period of time. Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't have really a different formats like Magic does.
Yeah.
But, Skaggs mentioned the elementals. Really powerful. Only a couple. Only 3 of them still exist, the 5. I believe something really powerful is going to come out if there's a Modern Horizons 4. And it's kind of a way for Modern to, since it's a non-rotating format, kind of way for them to try to rotate stuff. I do think they need to think a little bit more when they do make cards to try to prevent design issues like the Nadu issue. Granted, it provides cool legacy play, but if they were going to do that, they mentioned Nadu originally. The build was for a commander card. Well, then it shouldn't have been in the main set of Modern Horizons. Because if it was a legacy, not legacy, if it was you really wanted to have it hit in Commander, a way to have it hit in Commander is put it in the Commander product.
Put
Because
it in the Commander set.
There was a Commander product for Modern Horizons 3.
Yep.
And then it would have only been legal in Commander, Legacy, and Vintage.
So
there are ways to fix stuff, but like you said, I'll say they shoot themselves in the foot a lot. They do something good, Final Fantasy, cool, all this stuff, and they obviously have this consistent decks, so they've shot themselves in the foot. But go ahead, Skaggs.
So I just pulled up the most recent standard tournament. It's a 32-player tournament. Out of 32 players, how many do you think are not playing either Mono Red Aggro, Izzet Prowess, or your Azorius Omniscience?
I don't know what's the date of it because I'm looking at the big tournament from last weekend.
Oh shit! Where do I? Give me a date. Let me hit back, see if 28th of June.
28th of June. Okay, so that is
so
today.
So they went until this morning and then submitted. Or they just finished.
I don't know. Probably at least 75% are those decks specifically. That'd be my guess.
I'm gonna say 100% are those decks.
Not quite 100%, but more than 70%. It's sitting at around. That would be what? Yeah, 80% of them. There is only 5 people in this 32-player tournament that are using a deck that's not that.
And you can ask Skaggs, that was always my biggest gripe going into play on Fridays is even though we were playing Modern, there was still a meta to it. There was new cards that would come out with the new sets that would change what people were playing, and it made Modern not fun because the reason that I played Modern was because I could play my silly sliver decks and all of the other silly things that I like to play, but I had to play those knowing that there was little to no chance that I was going to win because I was not playing the good decks. Because I was not playing one of the 5 red-green decks or one of the 2, blue decks that were creaming right now. And the only way you could win is to pull some crazy shit like Dredge, because it's a luck of the draw kind of way of fighting against that. Dredge is its own enigma kind of thing. And, because I had heard arguments when I voiced this before of like, well, Dredge comes in and wins. Well, yeah, because nobody has specifically built a deck to play against Dredge, and that's what you have to have. But other than that, you can't just bring a random fun-to-play deck in to any Friday Night Magic and have a shot at winning.
Yeah, it's
Go ahead.
I think you can have a shot of winning, but it's so small. It's damn near not even
Yeah, I won
doesn't
games
even
with my
matter.
sliver decks, for sure. It wasn't like I went 0 for 0 in the couple years that we played, but
No, yeah, absolutely, but it
winning
like
the
winning a
tournament,
tournament.
no. I mean, I would say maybe 2%. Maybe.
I'm gonna say I think
walking in on any given night.
it's a thing that
The biggest top, and I still remember this to this day. I know the biggest top that Quentin had with slivers was third out of 12 people.
Yeah. And that was not my favorite sliver deck. That was
My
red
favorite
green.
sliver deck.
Yeah.
and that's
I
what
think it just depends.
I've brought some shit
Go ahead.
out of pocket, like, oh, what it was the deck where it was all about like exiling player sets of cards. I can't remember what it was.
The surgical extraction theme deck. I
Yep.
remember.
Yeah, it was a complete surgical extraction theme. First tournament I took it to, I got a dub. I fucking took the whole night, and it was one of the coolest plays I've ever done as well, and I loved it. But the it just it's so you have to work so hard. Like you talked about people being lazy. You got to work so hard in order to be able to pull something that's not what's like making up over 75% of the meta in order to win with something that is not part of that 75%.
Yep.
You have to work so hard, and at the point, sometimes the payoff is worth it, especially if you really love the deck. But
Who
for
doesn't
me,
like beating Jund?
what's that?
I said, who doesn't like beating Jund? Who doesn't like beating Eric?
I think everybody loves to beat it, but it's, do I stoop as low as to build Jund myself so I can beat Jund? That should never be the question. That it's always difficult for me to talk about the state of Magic and bans and everything else, because I feel so strongly that long before I even started playing Magic, they started heading down the road of really messing up what formats were going to be and what the state of Magic is currently where we're at right now. I think their plan was much different when it was just Wizards of the Coast, and Hasbro's big plan is let's make a shitload of money. And now that we're there, the game isn't fun anymore. The game doesn't feel fun. The game feels like, go pick your favorite shiny cards that we made you pay $60 for in a secret layer and go out and lose with them because you're not playing one of the 3 meta decks right now. But doesn't it feel good that you got your shiny cards out to go play with all these other people and lose? And to me, that's why I feel so jaded on the topic, because it's exactly how I feel about it.
Well, I like having a Magic topic because I like to see Quentin's fire and passion come out in the conversation. But my last thing I'll say is stop scratching my couch, dog. I want to say that you mentioned, is it worth it? You put in all this extra work to play the deck you enjoy playing or whatever, and try to beat those top decks or whatever. And I think different people have different opinions on the situation. I uh, I think Magic's more than just the game you're playing. I think Magic's a two-pronged approach. It's the game with the cards, and it's the game between me and you. Whereas I like to use Riley as an example. When Riley
I
first
give that
started
with
playing
friends, not tournaments though. I give that with friends, but not tournaments. If I enjoy the other person, I will give that to you. But
Yeah.
Most times,
Our Friday Night Magics were very much like that.
and that's where I just want to interject. But go ahead with the Riley.
Riley's a good example. When Riley first started playing, I knew I could do or say certain things to kind of play a mind game with Riley, and I'd get Riley to make these small mistakes that would give me edges in the game. Get Riley to do this, like play a wrong card at the wrong time, or just that's one of the things I find fun about Magic is the mind game. Like, you know, think about, I'll kind of say I'm playing a control deck, right? And in standard, at one point, we both played a blue-white control deck. Different themes of what we were doing, but we both played blue-white control deck, and there'd be times where I'd have untapped mana. I'd kind of line it up so he'd see that I had like 2 blue, make him think that there's a counter spell coming or stuff like that. And for a long time, I could mess with Riley like that. And there's different things I could do with certain people. I'll never reveal all of my secrets, but specifically Riley, I remember very well. And then at some point, Riley just stopped falling for my bullshit and doesn't fall for my tricks anymore. So I've seen Riley as a player that's improved over time as well. So I like not just the game we're playing, but I like sitting in front of Quentin and then me and Quentin playing that social mind game interaction where Quentin's playing, he's playing Blue Black Mill, but Chris is playing 5-color Savage Snowblade. And so I'm extremely favored to lose this game. But there's been times where Quentin's built me down to like 3 or 4 cards left, and just the way different cards fell, the way we both did certain stuff, I managed once or twice to squeak out a win with that terrible, terrible deck.
Hey, I mean, like I said, I will give that to you at like our local FNMs and stuff. But I will, where I won't give it is like tournament, like other tournament, like bigger tournaments, not just FNMs, because I want I don't necessarily care to have the interaction with the guy that smells like he hasn't showered since his prom night, and he's about 30 years old, and the guy that's got the glasses on that's going, you see? Yeah, actually, the way that... Fuck you. Shut up and just play the game. And I don't know, it just... That's not to say that I haven't met cool people at tournaments, but that is...
You guys.
The 90% of the people that I've met are either sweaty tryhards or sweaty stinky tryhards, and they're always actually the way you see that you can't do that, and it's like no,
Judge.
Yeah. Then half the time they'll call a judge over and they'll be like, yeah, no, he can do that, or no, you can't do that, and they'll get pissy and just. It's like their stink intensifies. Their aura just exudes more. It's like Kenpachi with his spiritual pressure, but it's stench pressure.
Do not ever compare the stinky motherfuckers that play at Magic tournaments to Kenpachi ever again.
You can't tell me that there is not a more perfect example though. That is how they are. And I hate it.
Rules actually have a hygiene section.
Good.
Well, hey, they need to start enforcing it.
At a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament for improper hygiene.
Good.
They need to start enforcing it.
That needs to be everywhere.
Because no shit, we were at the downtown at one of the Star City Games tournaments. I forfeited a match because he stunk so bad. I played the first one, played the second one.
Social mind game.
You know what? He won. He won that because I won the first one.
Spiritual pressure was too high.
I won the first one. He won the second one. and I was not about to sit there for another one. So I just said, "Hey, it's yours, Chief. See ya."
Yuck.
Yeah, but I think that's an alright spot to end it. PSA to all the people who play card games and go to conventions: wash your ass, and yeah, solve
Yeah.
metas suck.
All of it. Not just your ass. I mean, especially your ass, but wash your entire body
Behind your
and
ears, your
brush your
neck.
teeth.
Yes, please.
With soap and shampoo.
Yes.
Yes, and maybe some deodorant. Pack that
No,
shit on.
definitely some deodorant.
But I think that's a good spot to end it, boys. Well, anybody got any last second things to say at all?
Follow me everywhere, all social media. Seeing it 123 or seeing it Chris Jones, or some form or fashion. I'll make sure Skaggs updates with the latest article and the YouTube thumbnail down the bottom.
So
Don't have none of that stuff, and don't bother me about it. And I'm gonna stay jaded and stay off the internet.
Follow Q on Facebook.
find him at your mom's house. All right, well, it's Dodgy Yeti. You're on my channel, so you can find all my socials. But yeah, that's been it, guys. Have a good time. See ya.